Hi there. Have you ever given everything to your family, only to realize you never truly had a seat at the table? My name is Claire Matthews, and at 34, I was the reliable one, while my brother Jake was celebrated as the golden child. I co-signed his $150,000 loan, wired him nearly $90,000, and even let his fiancée crop me out of family photos. But on his wedding day, when I was told to stand by the restrooms so the pictures would look clean, that was the moment I realized I wasn't invisible. I was done being their safety net. Before I tell you what happened next, let me know where you're watching from, and thanks for being here. I'm a CPA living in Denver, Colorado. I've built financial portfolios, saved failing businesses, and helped create stability for people who couldn't manage it themselves. Quietly successful, comfortably single, and fiercely independent. But if you ask my family, they'll tell you I'm the good daughter. Reliable, responsible, and never the one to cause trouble. That's all I've ever been to them. Never the golden child, never the one they celebrated. That title belonged to my younger brother Jake from the moment he could hold a beer bottle. Growing up in Aurora, just outside Denver, Jake was the center of gravity in our household. If he scraped his knee, someone ran for Band-Aids. If he failed a class, it was the teacher's fault. Meanwhile, I learned to make myself invisible. I got straight A's, made honor roll every semester, and landed a full scholarship to University of Colorado Boulder. When I graduated with my accounting degree and got a job offer in New York after college, I turned it down. Not because I didn't want it, but because my parents said they needed me closer. Jake's still finding his path, they said. Family comes first. Later, when I was offered a chance to transfer to our London office, a dream opportunity that would have advanced my career by years, my father looked me in the eye and said, "You're the stable one, Claire. Your brother needs someone here while he finds his footing." So I stayed. Again. I watched my friends move to exciting cities, start families, build lives they loved. I remained in Colorado, within driving distance of home. Always the backup plan, always the quiet support beam in a house that no one realized was resting on me. Jake, on the other hand, was the family's chosen one. He's got vision, my mom would say, even when he was between jobs for the 4th time in 2 years. He's an entrepreneur, my father would beam, while I was quietly paying Jake's overdue parking tickets behind the scenes. "You know your brother's not like you," my mother reminded me once, when I asked why I always had to clean up his messes. "He's a dreamer, you're practical. We rely on you." That word, rely, stuck with me like a splinter under my nail. It wasn't trust. It wasn't respect. It was need that was never acknowledged, only expected. I was the foundation they built on, but never the house they admired. And then came Madison Cross. Madison entered our lives like a perfectly curated Instagram post come to life. She worked as a social media manager, had 50,000 followers, and carried herself like she was always being photographed. Which, to be fair, she probably was. From the moment we met, she looked me up and down with that smile. You know the one, polite enough to seem sweet, but cold enough to let you know exactly where you stood. To be clear, I tried. I welcomed her, asked about her work, complimented her aesthetic apartment, even helped her carry boxes when she temporarily moved in with my parents during a lease transition. But she never saw me, not really. She didn't care that I was a CPA managing million-dollar portfolios. She once referred to me as Jake's older sister who does something with numbers. The way she said it, dismissive with a little laugh, made my mother chuckle and nod along. "Claire likes her quiet little world," Mom added, as if I were some hermit instead of a woman who owned her own downtown condo and had traveled solo through Europe the year before. One Sunday dinner, where Madison had become a regular fixture, the conversation turned to Jake's latest business idea, some craft brewery concept focused on sustainable brewing practices and locally sourced ingredients. What I remember most isn't the pitch itself, but my father leaning back, nodding proudly, saying, "This is the kind of thing our Jake was born to do." My mother chimed in, "He's going to put the Matthews name on the map." Then she turned to me and said, "You've always been the steady one, Claire, the one who keeps us all grounded." I smiled, but something inside me cracked. It wasn't the first time I'd heard that line, but that night it landed differently, as if I wasn't part of the legacy being built, just the caretaker of it. Later, while we were clearing dishes, my father put his hand on my shoulder and said something that would echo in my mind for months. Sons carry the family name forward, but daughters hold the family together. He said it like wisdom, like something I should be proud of. But to me, it was confirmation that I wasn't meant to shine. I was meant to make others shine possible. What no one realized was that support beams carry enormous weight, and even they can crack under pressure. The first crack came on a Tuesday morning in March, when Jake called and asked if we could grab lunch. Something about his voice told me this wasn't just a casual catch-up. We met at this trendy spot in Denver's Rhino district, where all the craft breweries and art galleries were popping up. Jake looked good, new shirt, expensive watch, but his eyes were restless, darting between the menu and the window like he was expecting someone else to show up and save him from what he was about to say. "I've got this incredible opportunity," he started, talking fast. "Local suppliers lined up, potential investors interested. The whole sustainable brewing angle is huge right now. There's this perfect space in Reno, right in the heart of everything." I listened. I always listened. Then came the pause, the part where his shoulders sank and his voice dropped. "I need a co-signer," he finally admitted. "For the brewery lease and the equipment loan. They won't approve me without someone with more established credit." He didn't have to say more. I knew what established meant. It meant my 800-plus credit score, my steady six-figure income, my name that didn't carry the red flags his did. I leaned back and let the silence stretch. He fidgeted, tapping a sugar packet against the table. "Why me?" I asked. His smile faltered. "Because you're the only one who can. And you know I wouldn't ask unless this was really it, Claire. This is my shot." That wasn't exactly true. Jake had asked for plenty over the years. Gas money, help with job applications, even rent once when he was between opportunities. But something in his face, that slight tremor of desperation beneath the charm, made me hesitate. I didn't say yes right away. I told him I'd think about it. That night, my phone rang. "Mom." "He told you about the brewery?" she asked, her voice softer than usual, almost fragile. I didn't answer. "Your brother's really trying this time," she continued. "He's finally found something that's his. Just this once, Claire. Help him get started." In the background, I could hear my father. "Tell her it's just paperwork. Just this once, and we'll never ask again." But they would ask again. They always had. Still, I heard myself say, "I'll think about it." By Friday, I had signed the paperwork. I reviewed every clause, every risk, every exit strategy, and put my name on documents for a business I didn't believe in, simply because I was the only one whose signature carried weight. It wasn't just a legal move, it was a tether, and I was tying myself to Jake's dream whether I wanted to be there or not. Jake hugged me outside the bank. "I owe you big time, Claire. I won't forget this." But he did forget. Over the next 18 months, the brewery opened in a converted warehouse space that looked incredible on Instagram, but struggled with actual operations. Orders came in, but fulfillment was chaos. An equipment malfunction killed an entire batch of beer. Cash flow wasn't flowing much at all. And late one night, just after midnight, my phone lit up. "Hey, I hate to ask," Jake started, the same way he always started. "You don't hate to ask," I said, already opening my banking app. "I just need to cover payroll this week. I'll pay you back, I swear." I sent him $4,000. A month later, $3,500 for emergency equipment repair. 6 weeks after that, $2,500 to cover a marketing campaign that was supposed to bring in new customers. No one else knew, not my parents, not Madison, not even my closest friends. Jake and I kept it between us. I didn't want to embarrass him. I didn't want to make things harder. I told myself I was being a good sister, the dependable one, the one they could rely on. I wasn't angry, not yet. I wasn't even disappointed. I just accepted that this was the role I played, invisible and essential, like the foundation of a building that everyone walks on but no one thinks about. But thank yous stopped coming, real ones anyway. Just the tired text. "Thanks, sis. You're a lifesaver." Sometimes I wondered if Madison even knew the extent of it. Did she know her engagement party, complete with custom cocktails and professional photography, happened while I was quietly covering Jake's supplier shortfall from my own savings? They were planning their wedding by then, choosing venues, debating color schemes, creating hashtags. My name came up occasionally, I'm sure, but never for what I had done. I was just expected to show up, smile, and stay supportive. And for a while, I convinced myself that was enough. Because family comes first. Because love means sacrifice. Because if I didn't hold things together, they'd fall apart. What I didn't realize yet was that they were already falling apart. They just hadn't noticed which parts were mine. The wedding invitation arrived on a Thursday, tucked between a credit card offer and a grocery store circular. No personal delivery, no call, no handwritten note, just a formal invitation with my name printed on the address label. It was beautiful, of course. Thick cardstock, elegant calligraphy, Madison and Jake's names embossed in gold. But it felt cold, generic. The kind of invitation you send to distant relatives or coworkers you're obligated to invite. The wedding was set for October at some luxury resort in Vail. A destination wedding in Colorado's mountains. The kind of place where people go to get married against Instagram-worthy backdrops. I flipped the invitation over, looking for something personal. A handwritten note, maybe. A "can't wait to celebrate with you." Nothing. Just an RSVP website and a link to their gift registry. I sat there for a moment, holding this expensive piece of paper, and felt something I hadn't expected. Loneliness. Not sadness exactly, just distance. But I told myself it was fine. Wedding planning is stressful. People get busy. I clicked the RSVP link and marked attending for one. 3 weeks later, I found out about the bridal shower through Instagram. I was scrolling through my feed Saturday morning when Madison's story popped up. Video after video of mimosas, perfectly arranged pastries, women in coordinated outfits laughing and posing with oversized balloons that spelled out bride. The caption on one post read, "Surrounded by my favorite women, so grateful for this tribe." I lived 20 minutes from Cherry Creek, where the shower was obviously happening. I was free that Saturday. I had literally been at my parents' house 2 days earlier when Madison dropped off fabric samples and discussed reception details with my mother. Not one mention of a bridal shower, not even an offhand comment. At first, I felt embarrassed. Had I missed something? Was the invitation lost in the mail? But then I saw the group photo. Dozens of women arranged in perfect rows, everyone holding champagne flutes, everyone beaming. Extended family was there. My cousin Jenny, who I hadn't seen in months. Even my teenage niece Sarah was in the photos, wearing a team bride sash. But not me. The next day, Jenny called. "Hey," she said, and I could hear something careful in her voice. "I was surprised you weren't at Madison's shower yesterday." "I wasn't invited," I said simply. "Seriously?" Her tone sharpened. "That's weird. You're Jake's sister. I assumed you were helping plan it or something." I told her no. I had no idea it was happening. Jenny paused. "That's really messed up, Claire." Then she told me something that made my stomach drop. She'd been going through Madison's Facebook photos from Christmas. You know, the kind of mindless scrolling we all do. And she noticed something strange. "Remember that family photo from Christmas Eve? The one by the fireplace?" I remembered. We'd all gathered around after dinner, Jake insisting we needed a proper family portrait for the holiday cards. "Madison posted it," Jenny continued, "but she cropped you out. At first, I didn't want to believe it. Maybe it was just how the photo was framed. Maybe I'd been standing too far to one side. But Jenny sent me a screenshot of the original photo from my mom's Facebook, and then Madison's version. In the original, I was clearly visible, standing next to Jake, smiling genuinely for what I thought was a family moment. In Madison's post, I was gone. Edited out completely, except for the edge of my sweater still visible where the crop line cut through. Her caption read, "Love this family, can't wait to officially be a Matthews." I stared at that cropped photo for a long time. It wasn't accidental, it was deliberate. I wasn't just being overlooked, I was being erased. Quietly, systematically, one frame at a time. My presence wasn't just unwanted. It was being scrubbed clean for aesthetic purposes. Still, I RSVP'd yes to the wedding. I told myself I was being mature, rising above petty conflicts. That family events sometimes come with tension, and it was better to show up and be supportive than to cause drama. But the truth was simpler. I wanted to see how far they'd go, how invisible I'd become. And somewhere deep down, I think I was still hoping that Jake would notice, that on his wedding day, surrounded by all that curated perfection, He'd see me for what I was. His sister, the one who'd held the foundation steady when everything else threatened to collapse. But I was beginning to realize that Jake didn't see anything anymore. Maybe he never had. The morning of the wedding, I drove the 2 hours from Denver to Vail with my hands cold on the steering wheel, despite the October sun streaming through the windshield. I'd replayed every detail of the invitation in my head during the drive, as if there might be some hidden message I'd missed between the printed dates and elegant typography. The resort was stunning in that way Colorado mountain venues always are. Golden aspens, snow-capped peaks in the distance, everything perfectly manicured for maximum Instagram impact. I arrived early, partly out of habit, and partly because I didn't know what else to do with my nervous energy. I parked and sat in my car for 5 minutes before getting out, adjusting the hem of my navy dress, something I'd chosen carefully, formal enough to show respect, but not so stunning it would upstage anyone. The irony of that consideration wasn't lost on me. The ceremony was set up on an outdoor terrace overlooking the valley, string quartet playing something generic and romantic, delicate signs in Madison's signature font directing guests toward cocktails and photo opportunities. For a moment, I let myself believe that maybe the tension I'd been carrying was mine alone. Maybe I was overthinking everything. Maybe today would be different. Then I saw the seating chart. It was displayed on an ornate mirror propped against a gold easel, surrounded by white roses and trailing greenery. Very Madison. I walked up slowly, scanning the names written in that same elegant calligraphy. Table 1, Parents of the Bride. Table 2, Wedding Party. Table 3, Extended Family. Table 4, 5, 6. I read it again. Then a third time. My name wasn't there. Thinking maybe there was a mistake, I approached one of the wedding planners, a young woman in all black with a headset and clipboard. The kind of person who makes luxury weddings look effortless. "Hi, sorry to bother you," I said, with my most polite smile. "I think there might be an error on the seating chart. I don't see my name listed. Claire Matthews. I'm Jake's sister." Her expression shifted slightly, the kind of look someone gives when they know something you don't want to hear. "Oh," she said, flipping through pages on her clipboard. "Right, you're the groom's sister." I nodded. "There were some last-minute changes," she continued, not quite meeting my eyes. "Family additions flew in unexpectedly. Space got tight. You're actually seated in the overflow section." She pointed toward the far edge of the reception area, near what looked like a service entrance. "Overflow section?" "By the West Terrace," she said, already turning away, "near the restroom facilities." I looked where she pointed. There were 4 folding chairs arranged haphazardly near a utility wall. No table numbers, no centerpieces, no other guests nearby. It looked like where staff might sit during breaks. "I'm sorry," I said slowly. "You mean I don't have an actual table assignment?" She hesitated. "The bride's family had some unexpected +1s arrive last minute. It was very tight." "Right," I said quietly. "Of course." I started walking toward the overflow section, my heels clicking against the flagstone path. I passed groups of guests laughing, clinking glasses, posing for photos with the mountain backdrop. Everyone looked happy, relaxed, like they belonged exactly where they were. When I reached the folding chairs, I realized one of them wasn't even empty. A woman I didn't recognize was already sitting there, chatting with 2 other people I'd never seen. A small place card on her chair read, "Tiffany, Marlowe's guest." I didn't know Tiffany. I barely remembered who Marlowe was. But Tiffany had a seat with her name on it, and I didn't. Before I could figure out what to do next, I heard a familiar voice behind me. "Oh, good, Madison," someone called out. She found her spot. I turned to see Madison approaching with a champagne flute in her hand, looking radiant in her pre-ceremony glow. She paused when she saw me, smiled that bright camera-ready smile, then lowered her voice just enough to make sure only I could hear. "Why don't you just stand by the restrooms? It'll keep the family photos looking clean." I froze. She didn't wait for a response. She laughed lightly, the kind of laugh that sounds delightful from a distance but cuts like glass up close, and floated away toward the patio where the bridal party was gathering for pictures. For several seconds, I stood perfectly still. Not embarrassed, not angry, just hollow. People were flowing around me, heading toward the ceremony site, chatting and laughing. My own parents walked past, deep in conversation with Madison's family. They didn't notice me standing there. No one came to check on me. No one asked if I needed anything. I wasn't late. I wasn't forgotten. I was invisible. That's when my eyes landed on the gift table. It was beautifully arranged, of course. White linen cloth, handmade sign reading with gratitude and love. Stacks of wrapped boxes lined up beside crystal bowls full of cards and envelopes. And there, beneath a small white ribbon, was the envelope I had placed there an hour earlier. My name written in gold ink on cream-colored paper. Inside, a personal note and a check for $7,500. I had spent days deciding on the amount. It wasn't casual money. It was money I had saved carefully. Money I could have used for my own vacation or apartment renovation. But I wanted to give Jake something meaningful, a gesture of love and support as he started this new chapter. I walked to the table. No one stopped me. I reached down, picked up my envelope, and tucked it back into my purse. I turned toward the parking lot. A groomsman, someone I vaguely recognized from college, called after me. "Hey Claire, where are you going? Ceremony's starting soon." I turned back once, held up the envelope slightly so he could see it, and said calmly, "Don't worry, I'll stay out of the frame forever." Then I walked away. Not fast, not dramatically, just steadily. Like someone who had finally accepted a truth that had been waiting patiently in the silence for far too long. I didn't look back as I walked toward my car, but I could feel the shift in the air behind me, conversations pausing, heads turning, the electricity that comes when someone does something unexpected at a place where everything is supposed to go according to plan. I drove back to Denver and checked into a hotel near the airport. I needed somewhere anonymous, somewhere I could think without the familiar walls of my apartment reminding me of all the times I'd wired money from my kitchen table or taken Jake's panicked calls from my couch. I ordered room service and opened my laptop. For months, I had kept detailed records of everything, partly because I'm a CPA and that's what we do, partly because some instinct told me I might need documentation someday. Every co-signature, every wire transfer, every emergency payment was logged in a folder labeled Jake's Support. The numbers were stark in the blue glow of my laptop screen. Co-signer on $150,000 business loan, emergency payroll, $4,000 equipment repair, $3,500 marketing shortfall, $2,500 supplier payment, $6,000 utility deposits, $1,200 various small emergencies, $71,800 total, $89,000 in direct support over 18 months. I stared at that number for a long time. $89,000. More than many people make in a year. Money that had flowed quietly from my accounts to his, keeping his dream afloat while he posed with craft beer bottles on Instagram, and Madison posted about my entrepreneur husband. I had enabled all of it, not just financially, but emotionally. I had been the safety net that let Jake jump without looking because he knew I'd always be there to catch him. But safety nets aren't meant to be invisible. And they're not meant to be permanent. I opened a new email. The subject line was simple. Termination of co-signer agreement, immediate. The body took me longer to write. It needed to be professional, legal, and final. I cited the withdrawal clause in our original agreement, attached all relevant documentation, and included my attorney's contact information for any questions. At the bottom, I added one personal line. Effective immediately, all financial support and guarantees are withdrawn. It's time you stand in the frame you chose. I CC'd my lawyer, my bank, and the brewery's financial institution. Then I sat there, cursor hovering over send, for what felt like hours but was probably only minutes. This wasn't just about the wedding. This wasn't revenge for a missing seat or a cruel comment about family photos. This was about 18 months of phone calls I answered at midnight, years of being taken for granted, a lifetime of being seen as a resource instead of a person. I clicked send. Then I turned off my phone. I didn't want to be there when the earthquake hit. I just wanted to sleep in an anonymous hotel bed and let the consequences unfold without me for once. The next morning, I drove home to my condo in downtown Denver. I made coffee, watered my plants, and finally turned my phone back on. 47 missed calls, all from Jake. I didn't listen to the voicemails, not yet. I just watched the numbers accumulate as more calls came in throughout the day. By evening, 89 missed calls. By the next morning, 156. On day 3 of their honeymoon in Hawaii, the number hit 247. The voicemail started confident, then confused, then desperate, then angry, then broken. Claire, hey, call me back. There's some kind of banking error. Claire, this is urgent. The brewery landlord is saying crazy things about the loan. Claire, I don't know what game you're playing, but this needs to stop right now. Please, I'm your brother. Please just call me back. But I didn't call back. For the first time in my adult life, Jake was experiencing the silence I had lived with for years. The silence of being unheard, unacknowledged, taken for granted. The consequences rippled out faster than I had expected. Without my co-signature, the brewery loan was in immediate default. The landlord initiated eviction proceedings. Suppliers put accounts on hold. The insurance policy lapsed when payments bounced. Madison's father, who had been a silent investor, attracted by the family-backed stability of the business, called me directly. When I didn't answer, he left a voicemail that was barely controlled rage wrapped in corporate politeness. Ms. Matthews, I need clarification on the sudden change in financial backing for your brother's company. My investment was predicated on certain assurances about family support. Please call immediately. I forwarded the voicemail to my attorney with a note. Please handle any further communication about this matter. By day 4, my parents called. I answered this time. Claire? My mother's voice was tight with strain. What in God's name are you doing? Hi, Mom. Don't hi, Mom me. Jake is devastated. Madison is hysterical. You're destroying your brother's life over what? A seating arrangement? It's not about the seating arrangement, I said calmly. Then what? My father's voice cut in. He was on speakerphone, and he sounded angrier than I'd heard him in years. Explain this to me, because I don't understand how my daughter could be so vindictive. Vindictive. That word hung in the air between us. Do you want to know what vindictive would look like? I asked. Vindictive would be calling Madison's sponsors to let them know her lifestyle content is built on money she didn't know was borrowed. Vindictive would be posting the receipts of every wire transfer on social media, with timestamps showing when Jake was posting about his success while I was covering his failures. This isn't vindictive, Dad. This is just me stepping back. Silence. You don't understand, my mother said finally. Jake's worked so hard for this. It's his dream. Built on my credit, funded by my money, enabled by my silence. We didn't know, she whispered. You didn't want to know, I replied. There's a difference. My father tried a different approach. Look, we know you're hurt about the wedding. Madison feels terrible about the seating situation. It was just logistics got complicated. I almost laughed. The seating situation. People make mistakes. Do you know what she said to me? I interrupted. She told me to stand by the restrooms so I wouldn't ruin the family photos. Not, I'm sorry, we're tight on space. Not, let me fix this. She told me I would make the pictures look dirty. Another long silence. And you know what the worst part was? I continued. Not one of you said anything. Not one of you asked if I was okay. You all just watched her humiliate me and did nothing because it was easier than making waves on her perfect day. Claire, my mother started. I supported Jake for 18 months, I said. $89,000. I put my financial reputation on the line. I answered panic calls at midnight and wired money without asking questions because I believed in family loyalty. But loyalty is supposed to go both ways. We love you, my father said quietly. You love the version of me that's convenient, I replied. The one who doesn't ask for recognition, doesn't require attention, doesn't expect to be treated with basic respect at family events. You don't love this version, the one who has boundaries. You're still part of this family, my mother said. And I could hear tears in her voice. Am I? I asked. Because at Jake's wedding, I wasn't even part of the seating chart. I hung up before they could respond. The aftermath moved faster than any of us expected. The story somehow made its way to Reddit, probably through one of the wedding guests who witnessed my exit. And then to TikTok, where it went viral under hashtags like Our Wedding Drama and Toxic Family. Madison's Instagram comments section became a battleground. Hundreds of people asking where the groom's family was in the wedding photos. Screenshots of my cousin Jenny's Facebook post about family members being strategically excluded for not fitting the aesthetic. Someone even posted a video that Madison's own bridesmaid had apparently shared privately. Madison in the bridal suite before the ceremony, laughing with her makeup artist about how she wanted clean lines, and no awkward family members ruining the vibe. Claire's fine, Madison said in the video, champagne in hand. She's not really the wedding type anyway. The video was shared thousands of times before Madison's team could get it taken down. I didn't post anything myself. I didn't comment, didn't share my side of the story, didn't defend myself. I didn't need to. The truth had legs of its own. And for the first time in years, my silence wasn't compliance. It was power. Jake came to my condo on a Thursday afternoon, 3 weeks after the wedding. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. His usual perfect hair was disheveled, his expensive clothes wrinkled, and he carried a folder of papers like a lifeline he wasn't sure would hold. I didn't know where else to go, he said when I opened the door. I stepped aside and let him in. We sat at my kitchen table, the same table where I'd reviewed his business plans, calculated his loan payments, and wired him money more times than I could count. He placed the folder between us but didn't open it. "They're threatening to sue," he said, his voice hoarse. "The brewery lease company, the suppliers, even Madison's dad. They're all saying I misrepresented the financial backing." I didn't respond. "The bank won't return my calls. They want full loan payment within 30 days, or they're seizing all business assets." His hands were shaking as he spoke. "Everything's gone, Claire. The equipment, the inventory, the brand I spent 2 years building. All of it." He looked up at me with red-rimmed eyes. "I messed up," he whispered. "At the wedding, before that, all of it. I let Madison control things because her family had money and expectations, and I thought you'd understand. You never liked being the center of attention anyway." Still, I said nothing. "I was trying to keep everyone happy," he continued, his words tumbling out faster. "Madison's family wanted everything perfect for the photos, and you're always so understanding about family stuff. I thought one day wouldn't matter. I thought you'd be okay with staying in the background because that's just who you are." "No," I said quietly. "That's who you needed me to be." He flinched like I'd slapped him. "I need your help," he said, opening the folder with trembling fingers. "One more time. If you could just sign back onto the loan, just until I can restructure things." I looked at the papers he spread across my table, the same loan documents I'd signed 18 months ago, with blank signature lines where my name used to be. "Please," he said, "I know I don't deserve it, but I'm drowning here, and you're the only one who can help me." I stood up, walked to my desk, and pulled out a small envelope. I placed it gently on the table in front of him. He recognized it immediately. The same envelope I'd taken from his wedding gift table, the one with his name written in my careful handwriting. "What's this?" he asked, though I think he already knew. "Open it." Inside, he found the note I'd originally written for his wedding gift, but I'd made some changes. Where it once read to my little brother on his wedding day, "May this be the start of something beautiful," it now read, "To Jake, it's time you learn to stand without someone always catching you." And instead of the $7,500 check, there was a single sentence on blank paper: "I'm not your safety net anymore." He stared at the note for a long time. When he looked up, his eyes were filled with tears. "So that's it?" he asked. "You're just done with all of it? With me?" I sat back down across from him. "I'm done being invisible," I said. "I'm done being taken for granted. I'm done making your problems disappear while you take credit for the success and none of the responsibility for the failure. But I'm your brother." "Yes," I agreed. "You are. And for 34 years, I've been your sister. I've been your financial backing, your emotional support, your problem solver, and your silent cheerleader. But I've never been your equal." He opened his mouth to protest, but I held up my hand. "When was the last time you asked about my life, my work, my dreams?" I waited, but he didn't answer. "When was the last time you thanked me for something without immediately asking for something else?" The silence stretched between us. "I supported your brewery not because I believed in the business model. Honestly, your numbers never made sense. But because I believed in you. I thought if I just helped enough, quietly enough, eventually you'd see me as more than just a resource." I leaned forward, my voice steady but firm. "At your wedding, I realized something. You don't see me at all. You see Claire, the safety net. Claire, the problem solver. Claire who will always say yes. But you don't see Claire, the person who has her own life, her own accomplishments, her own right to be treated with respect. Jake was crying now, tears falling onto the loan documents scattered across my table. "I can't do this without you," he whispered. "You're going to have to learn," I said, "because I'm not coming back. Not as your co-signer, not as your emergency fund, not as your silent supporter who stays in the background while you get all the credit." He gathered up his papers with shaking hands. At my door, he turned back one more time. "I'm sorry," he said. "For all of it. For not seeing you, for taking you for granted, for letting Madison treat you like that. I'm sorry." "I believe you," I replied. "But sorry doesn't undo 18 months of being used. Sorry doesn't give me back the respect I should have had at your wedding. Sorry doesn't change the fact that you only came here when you needed something." He nodded, tears still flowing. "What happens now?" he asked. "Now you figure out how to stand on your own," I said, "like I've been doing my whole life." After he left, I sat in my quiet apartment for a long time. For the first time in months, my phone wasn't ringing with Jake's crises. My banking app wasn't lighting up with transfer requests. My weekend wasn't being interrupted by family obligations. It felt strange at first. Like when you take off a heavy backpack after carrying it all day, you feel lighter but also oddly unbalanced. But gradually, something else settled in. Peace. 2 weeks later, a package arrived at my door. The same cream-colored envelope I'd given Jake, this time with a return address label. He'd mailed it back to me, unopened. Inside, I found my original wedding note, the one about new beginnings and believing in him, along with something new. A single piece of paper with Jake's handwriting. "I understand now. You were never the silent partner in my life. You were the whole foundation, and I took it for granted. I don't know if I can rebuild what I destroyed, but I finally understand why you had to walk away. I'm sorry it took losing everything for me to see you." I read it twice, then folded it carefully and placed it in a drawer. Not because I was ready to forgive everything, but because it was the first time Jake had ever really seen me. The next morning, I did something I hadn't done in years. I updated my resume. Not because I needed a new job, but because I realized I'd been selling myself short. All those years of managing Jake's crises had taught me crisis management, negotiation, financial restructuring, and conflict resolution. Skills I'd never put on paper because I'd been too busy using them to help other people shine. I applied for a senior consultant position at a financial recovery firm, the kind of place that helps failing businesses get back on their feet. But with proper oversight, realistic timelines, and accountability measures. During the interview, they asked about my experience with business turnarounds. "I spent 2 years trying to save my brother's brewery," I said honestly. "I learned everything you shouldn't do." They hired me on the spot. 3 months later, I was featured in Denver Business Journal as one of 30 under 35 rising professionals in financial consulting. The photo showed me standing in front of downtown Denver's skyline, confident and smiling. Not in the background, not cropped out, but right in the center of the frame. Madison's Instagram post about the article was interesting. She shared it to her story with the caption, "So proud of my sister-in-law's success, family first." I didn't respond. I didn't need to. The comment section told the story for me. Hundreds of people who remembered the wedding drama calling out the hypocrisy. Screenshots of her old posts, where I'd been cropped out, compared to her sudden family pride, now that I was getting public recognition. "Sister-in-law," one comment read, "Didn't you exclude her from your wedding photos? Family first? Where was this energy at your reception?" This is what we call damage control, folks. I never replied to any of it. I didn't need to defend myself anymore, because I wasn't hiding anymore. 6 months after the wedding, I got a call from Jenny, my cousin who'd first noticed the photo cropping. "You need to see this," she said. She sent me a link to Madison's latest YouTube video. The title was, "My Wedding Mistakes, What I'd Do Differently." In the 12-minute video, Madison sat in her perfectly styled apartment, looking directly into the camera with what appeared to be genuine remorse. "I want to address something that's been weighing on my heart," she began. "My wedding day was supposed to be perfect, and in trying to make it look perfect, I hurt someone who deserved so much better." She went on to talk about family dynamics, the pressure of social media perfection, and learning to prioritize relationships over aesthetics. She never mentioned my name directly, but she didn't need to. "I let social media culture convince me that some people didn't fit my vision," she continued. her voice breaking slightly. And in doing that, I excluded someone who had been nothing but supportive and kind. Someone who deserved a seat at the table, literally and figuratively, and instead got pushed to the margins for no reason except my own shallow priorities. The video had over 200,000 views and thousands of comments. Most were supportive of her accountability, though plenty pointed out that apologies are easier than actually making amends. I watched it once, then closed the browser. It was a step in the right direction, but it didn't change what had happened. And it didn't change the fact that Jake's business had ultimately failed. Their marriage was reportedly struggling under financial stress, and I had moved on to a life that didn't revolve around cleaning up other people's messes. The real change came at Thanksgiving. I almost didn't go to my parents' house. I'd spent the holiday the year before listening to updates about wedding planning, and I wasn't eager to relive those memories. But my mother called personally, not asking me to help with anything, not mentioning Jake's situation, just saying she missed me and hoped I'd come. I arrived to find the dynamic completely different. Jake was there, but he looked smaller somehow. Not physically, but emotionally, quieter. He helped my mother in the kitchen without being asked, cleared plates without prompting, and when conversation turned to business topics, he actually asked about my new consulting work instead of launching into his own stories. Madison was polite but careful around me, not fake sweet like before, just cautious, respectful. She complimented my outfit genuinely and asked thoughtful questions about Denver's financial district, where my new office was located. But the biggest change was my parents. "Claire," my father said during dinner, raising his wine glass. "I want to say something." The table went quiet. "Your mother and I have been doing a lot of thinking over the past few months. About family, about fairness, about the way we've distributed our attention over the years." He looked directly at me. "We took you for granted. We assumed that because you were capable and independent, you didn't need the same support and recognition we gave to Jake. We were wrong." My mother nodded, tears in her eyes. "We taught you that love meant sacrifice, but we never taught Jake that love also means gratitude. We let him take and take without giving back. And we let you give and give without acknowledging what you were sacrificing. It wasn't fair," my father continued, "and it wasn't right. You deserved better from all of us, especially at Jake's wedding." I felt something loosen in my chest that I didn't even realize had been tight. "Thank you," I said simply. Jake cleared his throat. "I've been going to therapy," he said quietly, "trying to understand how I became someone who could treat my own sister like a bank account instead of a person." He looked around the table. "Madison and I separated last month. Not because of the money, though that was part of it, but because we both realized we'd built our relationship on a foundation that wasn't real. Social media, appearances, other people's resources." There was sadness in his voice, but also something that sounded like relief. "I'm starting over," he continued. "Really starting over this time. I got a job at a corporate brewery, not as an owner, just as an employee. Learning the business from the ground up the right way, and I'm paying Claire back." I started to speak, but he held up his hand. "Not all at once," he said with a small smile. "I know I don't have $89,000 lying around, but $50 a month, every month, until it's paid off, with interest." "Jake," I began. "It's not negotiable," he said firmly. "You supported my dream when you didn't have to. I'm going to pay you back because that's what people do when someone helps them. It's what I should have done from the beginning." Later, as we were cleaning up, Jake pulled me aside. "I know this doesn't fix everything," he said. "And I know you don't owe me forgiveness just because I finally figured out how to be a decent human being. But I want you to know, I see you now. I see what you did for me, what you sacrificed, what you built while I was taking credit for everything." He paused. "And I see the person you've become since you stopped carrying me. You're incredible, Claire. You always were. But now you're incredible and free." I hugged him then. Not the old hug of obligation or family duty, but the hug of two adults who had finally found their way to mutual respect. "I'm proud of you," I told him. "For the first time in years, I'm genuinely proud of the man you're becoming." That night, driving home to my condo through Denver's twinkling lights, I thought about frames and photos and who gets to stand where. For so many years, I'd accepted being in the background, being cropped out, being the invisible support structure for other people's dreams. I'd convinced myself that was love, that was family, that was my role. But love isn't supposed to make you invisible. Family isn't supposed to take without giving. And your role in life isn't determined by other people's convenience. I pulled into my parking garage and sat in my car for a moment, looking up at the building I called home. My name was on the lease, on the mortgage, on the mailbox. My plants were thriving by the windows. My career was flourishing in ways I'd never imagined when I was too busy supporting someone else's ambitions. This was my frame now, my life, my choices, my story. And for the first time in my adult life, I was standing right in the center of it. 6 months later, I was asked to speak at a conference for women in finance. The topic was finding your voice in male-dominated industries. But as I wrote my speech, I realized it was really about finding your voice in any situation where you've been taught that being quiet is the same as being good. My name is Claire Matthews, I began, looking out at an audience of 300 professional women. And I want to tell you about the most powerful business decision I ever made. It wasn't an investment strategy or a client acquisition. It was learning to say no. I told them about boundaries, about recognizing the difference between being supportive and being used, about the courage it takes to step out of the background and claim your own space, even when the people who love you have gotten comfortable with your invisibility. Sometimes, I concluded, the most radical thing you can do is stop making yourself small for other people's comfort. Stop being the silent partner in your own life. The standing ovation lasted 3 minutes. After the speech, a young woman approached me. She couldn't have been older than 25, and she looked nervous but determined. "Ms. Matthews," she said, "I just wanted to thank you. I've been financially supporting my boyfriend's music career for 2 years, and after hearing your story, I think it's time I stopped." I smiled. "What's your name?" "Sarah," she said. "Well, Sarah," I replied, "let me give you the advice I wish someone had given me at your age. You are not a safety net. You are not a background character. You are not responsible for making other people's dreams come true at the expense of your own." She nodded, tears in her eyes. "But what if he can't make it without me?" "Then maybe he's not supposed to make it," I said gently. "And maybe you're supposed to make it instead." As I watched Sarah walk away, shoulders a little straighter, chin a little higher, I thought about all the versions of myself who had needed to hear those words. The college student who turned down New York, the young professional who skipped London, the sister who signed loan papers she knew were risky because family comes first. All of those Claires had been good daughters, good sisters, good women, but they hadn't been good to themselves. This Claire, the one standing in conference rooms, building her own career, setting boundaries and sticking to them, she was good to everyone, including herself. And that, it turned out, made all the difference. If you've ever been the one quietly holding everything together while someone else got the credit, I want you to know, your silence doesn't have to be permanent. Your background position doesn't have to be forever. Your worth isn't determined by how much you're willing to sacrifice for others. It took me 34 years to learn that lesson. It took a wedding where I literally didn't have a seat at the table for me to realize I deserved better. But now I know, I'm not the silent partner anymore. I'm the CEO of my own life. And this time, I'm standing right in the center of the frame. My name is Claire Matthews, and that's my story. If any part of it felt familiar, if you saw yourself in the quiet sacrifices or the invisible support or the background positioning, I want you to know you don't have to stay there. You have a voice. Use it. You deserve a seat at the table. Claim it. You are worth more than what you can do for other people. Remember it. And if anyone tries to tell you to step aside for the family photos, smile politely and move to the center instead. Trust me, the frame looks better with you in it.